Few video games in history have cribbed more of its foundation from the Warhammer universe than the original Doom. Few video games in history have cribbed more of its foundation from the Warhammer universe than the original Doom. Few video games in history have cribbed more of its foundation from the Warhammer universe than the original Doom. Doom, 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 Doom.
I caught IGN's Bolt Gun pre-review, I guess that this is. The game itself looks fantastic. I got Iron Fury vibes off of it. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. Rather, it's this interesting claim, made under the auspices of IGN. Doom stole from Warhammer 40k. I think that's what they're implying. I'm not actually familiar with this word. I used some context clues and, Google, to discern its meaning. Well, anyways, is there any truth to this? Did the ID steal from the GW?
Thieves lack the virtue that the dark gods find so pleasing to crush.
To start with, Doom came out in '93. 3rd edition wouldn't be out for about another 5 years, and that's what would really be 40k. 1st and 2nd edition, we're still in Rogue Trader era here. We have Chaos Androids, half Eldar Librarians, and squats haven't been exterminated. Alright, so the actual obvious first, the demons. Well, Doom has demons. 40k has demons. It's an important distinction one would do well to remember. Killing demons is what Doom is all about, to some banger tunes. Some are epic, others somber, all are fantastic. In 40k, demons are one facet of the IP, and one not truly at the forefront. Sure, the Ruinous Powers as a whole are the large antagonistic force, yet it's the Chaos Space Marines themselves that are the foremost in-universe baddie, enemy number one and ideologically opposed to the main, good faction, the Imperium and its false corpse emperor. Between the two franchises, the demons don't really share any similar designs or the like. There's some superficial similarities, sure, but that has more to do with both drawing from Judeo-Christian design influences, not all of which are followed that closely. Both are very violent, decidedly mature-leaning franchises. For its part, Doom is derivative of its predecessor Wolfenstein. I'd say it's closer to 80s and 90s action films more than anything, with its premise. Warhammer 40,000 is equal parts camp, cheese, and grimdark, portions of which are rather nuanced, fairly evocative even. 40k's killed or be killed, Doom's all kill. See, Doom has no plot. It has a story, but narrative wasn't exactly the primary focus of the team. Carmack even once derided the idea of a plot in an FPS game as, well, read into it as you wish. Hell's another realm by default. It's the OG place from whence demons cometh. It's effectively the first of such framing devices. Drawing any parallels between Hell and the Immaterium is kinda pointless. Okay, they didn't go so far as to imply any, but I already ran out of possible ideas to foil between the two. Alright, we're getting facetious here. The point is, there's just not anything between the two that is meaningfully similar. What is incidental. Even in the meta sense, sci-fi meets fantasy, not really GW version grounds. See, honestly, I've never actually heard anyone make this statement before, which is mostly what piqued my interest to begin with, and said with such credence. Yet, it's just not that true of an observation. Is this just the brains of a GW fanboy scorned? Or is it perhaps something else? I contend that this was a knowingly made falsehood. Understand, at first I took this as a tongue-in-cheek joke. There's even a seeming reference to that VentureBeat Space Marine article from a couple years back.
Solely with his quintessential Gears of War-esque chainsword.
Anyhow, as the video goes on, a few other strange statements popped up, to the level of, why are they saying these things? After which, a curious thought crept in. Peruse any many a 40k forum out there, drop the words Blizzard or StarCraft, or even Warcraft on the fantasy side, and see what happens. Perhaps the thoughts already crept in for you as well. Rage baiting. Something that was purposely said to ruffle a few feathers, to drum up discussions in that comment section down below, and views, and get the people talking and discussing and views. to get the popularity growing, which gets more people talking and more views.
I thought it was
a self-sustaining chain reaction of engagement. An effective strategy: make a loaded statement, even if it's in passing, then let the fans do all the work. Do all that marketing for you. Efficient, if a little duplicitous, or ruthless even. For as large a media outlet as IGN, one would think such tactics as unneeded. The weight of the name and quality of the work should speak for itself, should it not? Oh, such woeful times to stoop to such lowly tactics. I am not being serious. I mean, alrighty, does this really matter? Only 50 tracks from the review proper. I'm not trying to impugn the journalistic integrity of IGN. The guy narrating's not the writer, to be clear. It looks like it was a freelancer, although they do make it seem like that's not the case.
After an hour with Bolt Gun, I can safely say that the action comes together beautifully. So I found myself absorbing a ton of punishment as I eviscerated any who stood against the glorious Imperium. I noticed a few tips in the game's loading screens that made reference to different damage types, which apparently are more effective depending on whatever is currently occupying your crosshairs. While I didn't play enough of Bolt Gun to make those strategic calls myself, that does sound like a...
But with those other statements, the video starts to be a bit incongruous. Stuff like this.
Bolt Gun might play like Doom, but id Software certainly wasn't drumming up the gory particle effects and psychedelic bullet trails that fill the screen in developer Auroch Digital's firefights.
Was this actually supposed to be referencing Quake back at the start instead of Doom? There weren't exactly physics cards back then yet, and you didn't even establish the cribbing to be a visual or aesthetic point. Why bring this up now? Then they drop this.
This is not a shooter about making tough tactical decisions. The Space Marine is big, beefy, and generously durable. He compels players to switch their brains off.
I won't say Doom was a super complex game, but compared to typical games today, at least FPSs, you did have to keep a track of many things, and if we're really meaning Doom 2 when we say Doom, that game does have quite a bit going on under the hood if you care to look.
Time travel is possible. I have just the low-res chainsword to prove it.
Low res? This game looks like it was ran through an upscaler 5 times. They just turned off the aliasing. Whatever. Look, I don't know. It just seems like they were either making these statements purposely to get the baiting going, or possibly made without even really a casual knowledge of said titles. Rather, going off the stuff they heard other people said or have read online and forming their opinion from there to run with. Which, thinking of it now, is probably also equally possible, especially nowadays. If this is so, should they really be saying anything? I am actually reminded now of Dean Takahashi's article, the one that went in hard on how much of a ripoff Space Marine is of Gears of War, that got a lot of backlash. Perhaps that reference was rather fortuitous. He made an update apologizing, though reading between the lines, I'd honestly feel like he's pissing in some 40k fans' eyes. But granted, it makes an interesting point, regarding how much in-depth knowledge of everything and anything a reviewer really just doesn't have, and shouldn't be expected to have. He points out that there are new people coming into various media all the time, forming their own views to add to the discourse. I mean, returning to my Rogue Trader tirade, does that little in-depth deep knowledge lend any more strength to my position? Things like this will come up all the time. It's the nature of the reviewing beast, and it should not hold people back from sharing their honest thoughts. But that's kind of the rub of it, is it not? We're voicing our opinions, yet at the same time, presenting them from a position of, well, not authority, yet some carriage of weight behind your words, that you know what you're talking about. Look, I'm just a seal that makes these videos for fun. Most people come here at most just to laugh at me, so what I say doesn't really matter. IGN has people going to them to make actual purchasing decisions. Okay, this wasn't a review proper, but it's still a demonstration that dropped quite a lot of observations, extolled quite a bit the game's virtues. Our boy here could hardly contain himself.
It's 1996 all over again, baby.
Reading what someone else who actually played the game wrote about it. Reading the comments, it doesn't really look like the statements got any fire started. If they did, they sput it out rather quickly. I don't know, just be mindful of when someone says something that sounds rather silly, they may be doing it on purpose. Well, I said my piece. Take what you will from it. Have a good day, beautiful friends. And let me know what you think in the comments section down below about how Space Marine 2's Tyranids are cribbing StarCraft Zerg's design. Games Workshop isn't even trying to hide it at this point, are they?